Writer Philip Eisner pitched the idea of a film, which he simply called A Haunted House in Space, to producer Lawrence Gordon. Found those 5 words titillating, and he greenlit the idea, which would become one of the landmark sci-fi horror films of all time, Event Horizon. The movie perfectly captures the fear of the unknown, the surprising claustrophobia of a space vessel, and the daunting void of space. If you've not seen the movie, this video will be chock full of spoilers. So, I suggest you go watch the movie and then come back. The plot is pretty simple. Event Horizon, a spaceship, reappears after disappearing for 7 years, and the crew is plagued by horrors previously unknown to humanity. The movie leaves it a mystery as to what the evil presence of the Event Horizon was, and all of us were left to resort to our imaginations. That changed in 2025 when Event Horizon Dark Descent, a comic miniseries, was published by IDW Publishing. The miniseries acted as a prequel to the film and gave a name to the entity that haunted the Event Horizon, Paimon. This demonic entity is returning again in Event Horizon Inferno, a sequel miniseries written by Christian Ward and illustrated by Rob Carey. If you had ever wondered what happened to Stark and Cooper at the end of Event Horizon, you might get the answer in Inferno. So, let's dive right in. Remember the movie? Since it's been over 2 decades since the release of the film, let me recap it for everybody real quick. The Event Horizon was a deep space research vessel launched to explore the boundaries of solar systems in 2040. As soon as it went beyond Neptune, the vessel disappeared without a trace. 7 years later, a distress signal is heard from the Event Horizon, and a rescue ship, Lewis and Clark, is sent as a response. The crew of Lewis and Clark are Dr. William Weir, the designer of Event Horizon, Captain Miller, Medical Technician Peters, Rescue Technician Cooper, Lieutenant Stark, the second in command, and Dr. DJ, Pilot Smith, and Engineer Ensign Justin. Weir tells them all about the ship's gravity drive, a device that folds time and space to travel long distances in a short time. Weir plays them a recording from the ship, which DJ translates as "Save Me." They find the Event Horizon, and Miller, Peters, and Justin head into the Event Horizon. Peters finds a corpse that was once one of the Event Horizon crew, and a video log of the original crew, while Justin finds the ship's core, the gravity drive. The drive opens up, pulls in Justin, and sends a shockwave so powerful that Lewis and Clark is destroyed. The remaining crew flees to the Event Horizon and rescues Justin, who's in a catatonic state. Weir then reveals that the gravity drive can actually create an artificial black hole, which shocks the crew, but Weir assures everyone that it's safe. The crew tries to watch the video log, but it's too distorted. By this time, the crew has begun to experience hallucinations regarding things they feel guilty about. Weir brushes it off, much to Smith's annoyance, who insists the ship is evil and a lie. Meanwhile, Justin wakes up and attempts suicide, but Miller stops him and puts him in stasis. DJ reveals to Miller that the recording actually says, "Save yourself from hell," not "Save me." Peters had cleared up the video that showed the previous crew mutilating each other. Miller sees the video and orders an immediate evacuation. As they begin evacuating, Peters hallucinates her son and follows him into her death. Weir hallucinates his wife, who sticks her fingers in his eyes and blinds him. After that, Weir seems to have accepted the evil presence of the ship as he sets off an explosion in the Lewis and Clark, and Smith dies in the explosion. Miller finds out about this and warns DJ about Weir, but it's no use. Weir catches DJ by surprise and kills him by vivisecting him. Miller, Stark, and Cooper get back into the Event Horizon. Miller heads to the bridge to blow it up, and it splits the ship into 2 so that they can escape using the forward part as a lifeboat. Weir attacks Miller on the bridge, and Miller detonates the explosive anyway, sacrificing himself for the safety of the survivors. The gravity drive activates once again and pulls the stern of the vessel into a black hole. Stark and Cooper enter stasis. 72 days later, a rescue party boards the Event Horizon and removes Stark from stasis, but she hallucinates Weir, which makes her freak out. As the rescue party comforts her, the doors close. Back on the Event Horizon, our story starts with 2 messed up siblings, Daniel and Benedict Durante. When Daniel was 15 years old, his mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Seeing his mother suffer every day, moaning in pain and begging God to spare her from the pain, deeply affected him. He thought it was pathetic because he was taught by his father that whenever you want something, you don't ask for it, but barter. Daniel believed in this advice, as there was tangible proof of their incredible wealth, their lavish house, and their profitable company. Daniel and Benedict did not want to die, and they were ready to apply their father's lesson to escape death completely. They were now going to pray to god like their mother. Instead, they preferred to make a deal with the devil. The two diabolical brothers kidnapped Skylar, their butler's daughter, and tied her up to a chair. They placed the chair inside a pentagram and lit candles all around her. They had other sacrifices too: a dove, a fox, and a cat. Daniel opened the book of incantations he had while Benedict brandished a knife. They asked Skylar not to worry, as it was not their first rodeo, and Daniel called upon Lord Paimon, the king of hell, to accept an offering to honor him and all of hell. He also asked for the gift of immortality, as Benedict drew a symbol on the crying girl's forehead with the blood of a dead cat. Thankfully, the sacrifice was interrupted by Skylar's father, who demanded that they untie his daughter immediately and threatened to tell their father about this. Daniel was angry at the tone of the butler, but covered up by saying Skylar was helping them with their research. The boys were very disappointed that they came so close, but will never know if the incantations worked. What they didn't realize then, what their mortal eyes couldn't see, was that Paimon had been summoned, and he had smiled a fiery smile at Daniel and spread his dark wings all across the room that day. Fast forward to the present. Daniel is now 52 years old and owns the Earth's largest space travel corporation. He tells his employees about the Event Horizon, a spaceship designed by William Weir 200 years ago. The key feature of the ship was the gravity drive, a device that created black holes to travel through and sped up travel incredibly. The ship had disappeared on its maiden voyage and reappeared 7 years later. The rescue team sent to discover what happened had also disappeared, but we already knew that. Daniel continues that the stories about the Event Horizon had grown with time and soon became ghost stories. Daniel isn't interested in the legend. What he wants is the gravity drive, which they have not been able to replicate even after 200 years. Daniel believes that it has the capacity to transform humanity. Years after searching for the legendary ship, he's finally found half of the ship, and that is where his employees are right now. His employees, called Tank Tops, enter Event Horizon and take off their masks once basic life support like gravity and air are restored to the ship. The motley crew consists of Sergeant Rob Crowley, a 47-year-old British man who can't afford to retire, Yang Zhu, a Chinese medical officer who is her parents' sole support after they lost everything to a crypto scam, Private Billy Hux Huxton, an unemployed American literary scholar who had no other ways to make a living, Corporal Melissa Drake, a Mexican woman trying to stock up enough money for her niece's full liver reconstruction surgery, Private Koji Endeavor Endo, a Japanese 19-year-old living in a synthetic body hired from Dante Medical, and Corporal Peter Powell, an Australian who is in some serious debt and is being sued over his social media activity. They all have baggage, something that Paimon would love to use to torment them. Daniel is in his own spaceship, away from the Event Horizon with his second wife, Annabelle Durante, a 100% artificially intelligent-driven synthetic, and Corporal Alexander Krauss, a tactical specialist with gambling addiction issues. Krauss keeps a close eye on everything happening on the Event Horizon and lets them know that he's seeing good bios across the team. Strangely enough, he picks up faint life readings from the ship, which he passes on to the crew. The crew guesses it must be the unusual design of the ship that bounces their own life readings around. As they look around, they find a body in a stasis pool, and through the mission manifest, they realize that it's Justin, the engineer. They wonder how long the ship kept him alive before it ran out of power, and wonder if he was dreaming when he died. Hux immediately becomes suspicious of the mission, and wonders if they're really on the ship for technology. Crowley brushes it off, telling him that he'll go where the money is. Daniel asks Annabelle to rush things, as time is money, and he hates wasting both. Annabelle announces to the crew that they're preparing the payload and should get ready. As her voice beams, Hux asks if androids dream of electric sheep. Koji takes offense to that, and asks if he has any problems with synthetics. Hux corrects himself and tells Koji that he's creeped out by AIs, not synthetics. The countdown begins from 5, and when the payload chamber opens, Skylar Durante, Daniel's ex-wife, topples out. The crew is confused, as Daniel had her committed, but their confusion was nothing compared to Skylar's, who doesn't even know where she is. Annabelle demands to know what she's doing on board, and Daniel assures her that she's only there as a necessity or an offering, not for any romantic reason. Krauss notices that readings across the ship suddenly spike. The ship comes alive, and Justin, in the stasis pod, bangs against the glass doors that enclose it. Crowley orders Huxton and Endo to find and secure the bridge, as it's important for them to have their hands on the steering wheel. While Krauss watches on in shock, Daniel smiles self-assuredly. He whispers to his beloved brother that immortality awaits them, a dark, looming figure seen in the background with 2 glowing eyes. Is that a ghost? Is that Paimon? Or is that just a projection of Daniel's mind? Your guess is as good as mine. Krauss does not like what's happening and absolutely hates that he cannot come up with a reasonable explanation, so he decides to abort the mission. Unseen to those around him, Paimon looms over Daniel and strokes his cheek. He speaks through Daniel as Daniel tells Krauss that he's come too far are to abort the mission now. He asks Krause to tell his brother that Daniel will be coming for him, and he calls on Annabelle. Before Krause can pull the gun out of his holster, Annabelle attacks him with just her hand and slices off most of his skull. Crowley, meanwhile, wonders why he's lost Krause's signal. Huxton sees the glass of the window in the spaceship intact, but littered with glass, like it was broken. He has no time to process the problem as the ship's navigation systems turn on. The event horizon begins to move, and Endo reads the system to find out they are headed towards Neptune. Yang asks why they're headed towards Neptune, when a voice answers back that the event horizon is headed back home to hell. The crew turns around with their guns pointing to see Lieutenant M.L. Stark, part of the Lewis and Clark crew, who's now 232 years old. Her clothes are bloody, and she lugs the bloody remains of a monstrous creature. She tells them with a defiant expression that they're going to need the guns, as the demons don't just kill themselves. What a fantastic first issue. It hooks us right from the beginning with Daniel Durante, the rich brat who wants immortality, and leaves us at a bloody brilliant cliffhanger. The Stark we see now is so different from when we last saw her. She was screaming and consumed by fear, but now she looks like she's mastered all her fears and is teaching the demons who they should fear. We all love a girl boss. Now, to Daniel Durante. He's gonna make for quite a twisted villain. What with his inability to take no for an answer, his entitlement to everything including immortality, and his love for his brother. It's clear from this issue that Benedict has died, and Daniel has been looking for ways to attain immortality so he can bring back his brother. His goal now is the same as it was when he was 15. He wants to be immortal with his brother. I also get a lot of Space Karen vibes from Daniel, so it'll be very interesting to see what Paimon has to say about all his demands. The crew is varied, but we don't get to see much of each individual character, so it's too soon to tell. As for Skylar, girl, what's wrong with you? Why would you marry someone who tried to sacrifice you to the devil? I understand the value of forgiveness, but damn, didn't Skylar ever question that she was about to marry someone who had no problem kidnapping her when he was a child? The art's not something I usually like, but it supports the story well. The last illustration of the comic book is my favorite, without a doubt. The badass stance of Stark as she holds up the flesh and bones of an otherworldly creature is cinematic. I wonder what'll happen in the next issue. Maybe we'll get to see what happened to Benedict. Cooper was the other survivor of Event Horizon, so we might get to know what happened to him too. My guess is he couldn't fare well against the monsters in Neptune, but his death probably taught Stark something important about their weakness or fighting style that helped her prepare to better face them. These are just my guesses though, and all we can do is wait to find out what actually happens next.